Hey, my name is Jae McIntosh. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt under Jarrett Bex. I run and own my own academy here in Starkville, Mississippi, No Limit Jiu-Jitsu. I recently got back from a training session with my professor in Jackson, Mississippi, and on the way back, I just started thinking about different aspects that would help improve um, my students' games, you guys' games. Um, as we all know, everything as far as competition goes, your conditioning, your strength, and your technique are all physical aspects that um, we know to regularly work to get better results in the competition jiu-jitsu scene. Well, a couple things that have really stood out to me is mainly the mental focus behind the training, the mental focus, and a lot of the surprising aha moments that people get when they compete or when they roll. Um, thinking back to a couple situations that have happened. Um, I know for me personally, from past experiences, a lot of times in tournaments, I would do a good sweep or I would go for a submission where I have the full control and it would just catch me off guard like, I'm doing this right. And I would be surprised by something that I regularly do in the academy, but for some odd reason that when I would compete, I would be overwhelmed that I did right. Uh, this is a conversation that me and my professor have had time and time again about understanding that, hey, if I put in the work, or if you guys put in the work, that of course you should do it right. So there's no reason to be surprised by, uh, you know, actually getting done what you're supposed to do. Nobody's surprised at the top of the podium like, oh, I'm surprised I won. No, you put in the work, so you're gonna, reap the reward. Uh, the next thing mainly is the focus in a role. Um, a trick that my professor made me do coming up maybe about 4 or 5 years ago was setting a timer. If you're a white belt and your matches are 5 minutes, or if you're a purple belt and your matches are 7 minutes, how long can you roll without losing focus? I'm talking about if the doorbell rings, looking over. If you have an itch, you want to scratch it. If sweat gets in your eye, you got to get it out. How long can you roll and keep 100% focus on the match? Conditioning, all that's great. You can work on it. Strength, you can work on it. Technique, you can work on it. But a lot of people neglect the mental focus of what it takes to stay in the game. Uh, Recent example, me and one of my students were battling it out in the advanced class, and it was maybe a minute left, and I needed to pass his guard. I was working to pass his guard, and he had some sweat coming in his eye. It wasn't my sweat; it was his sweat. But in the time he went from letting go of a needed grip to wiping the sweat out of his eye, that gave me just enough time to establish a grip I needed to pass his guard. Well, if you don't train the same way that you would in a competition, you're going to have the same results, just like that. Um, so for the longest time, I would work to see how long I could stay focused. And my professor said, for 5 minutes, to start off with 5 minutes, you just train, you roll. If you have the urge to think about what you're doing later on, or that itch, or who's walking around, start the timer over. See how long you can go. If you lose focus after a minute, start the timer over. Because the longer the match goes, it doesn't come down to conditioning. It doesn't come down to technique all the time. It doesn't come down to strength all the time. It just comes down to staying in the moment and staying focused 100% of the time. If you start looking at your world-class guys, best example, Leangelo. What sets him apart is his ability to stay in the zone the entire match length. All right. People battle with injuries. That guy's battled with injuries. I've battled with injuries. But you have to stay focused on the objective. So my challenge for my students these next couple weeks as we get ready for the Atlanta Open is see how long you can stay in the zone, in the moment. How long can you stay focused on the objective at hand to better, prepare yourself for the upcoming tournaments. All right. So I hope to see you guys in class, and I want to see everyone start working that.